Hello everyone. So today let us learn something really simple, but it may not be very obvious for a lot of people. Now, and maybe you already know it, but I know because I work with a lot of users, Jira users. I know it is not really straightforward. Now, on Jira Cloud, we of course have JQL, fortunately, and the JQL is of course needed to search for information. Now let us say you have an epic, and I'll create a simple epic. Let us say we have this epic called as uh, epic, right? It's a very creative name. I'll create the epic, and we have the epic which is now uh, there for us to break down further. So the epic is ANDT60. Now you might be familiar with this JQL, uh, basically this ability to search for all the issues under this epic. For example, if you search for epic link, right? And let me just try to find it. Epic link is equal to ANDT60, right? Now it will, okay, let me just search for it again. All right, so it is not showing me anything because there is nothing. So let us add something in this epic. So I will create this child issue. Let us say I want to create a story. So this is story 1, and then I'll create story 2 and maybe story 3. We may also have task, right? Let us create a task 1, task 2. So we have like some stuff. If I go back to my JQL, we can of course search for this. Now this is great, but the problem is that usually you break down your stories further. For example, if I go to story 1 and I now create sub 1, sub 2, sub 3, and so on, right? So this will not be returned in the JQL using epic link. Fortunately, there is a way. You just need to use something called as parent epic. And if you search here ANDT-60, you can now see everything. So if I go back and if I let us say go to story 2 and I want to create maybe a subtask under it, sub 1, sub 2. So basically 2 more entries. If I go back and search, we now have 11. And this is great. Right now, there is also, this is of course just a way to show this in the issue navigator. But what if you want to show it in some kind of hierarchy? So it is of course not really always possible without using. Of course, you can create the hierarchy if you have everything under one project, because you may have stories in different projects, right? And that is how things usually are. I mean, when you're doing some development or you're working with multiple teams, you can have stories in other projects. If you have everything in one project, just go to the Android project or whatever project you have, take a look at the timeline view, and you will basically have these issues listed here, right? And again, you can see here that it may not be like super useful because you can see that there are some issues under it, but you won't be able to like see the full list in one go. And what we can do is we can now build I'm just trying to share possibilities because as a consultant, this is what I do. Now let us save this, and I'll save this filter as ANDT60, right? I'm of course just trying to show you for one epic, but I'm sure you can do the same thing for just any other filter. So basically in this filter we have like a lot of issues and subtasks, and our goal is to build some hierarchy. And maybe while we're doing it, let me just go back to the epic and let us just create a story under it, but I may want to do it in a different project. And this is of course annoying because it is a bit difficult, but let me just do it separately. So I'll go to, let us say I will go to test project, and I'll create, no, not a test project, maybe Android project, and I'll create a story, and the story, I will say here story. And what I will do, I want to basically go to the Epic link, and I want to create this ANDT 60. So basically we are creating a story in a different project. And now if you look here in this Epic, you will of course be able to see this story from a different project. And if I go back to the same JQL, it will show me this AN610, basically some story in some other project. Now this AN-610 will not appear in your roadmap or timeline view, because that is how things are, unfortunately. And you can, if you expand here, you just have issues from this project. Now a workaround is, of course, you can of course build this view. And of course I'm not really going to share or talk about using some app like EasyBI or maybe advanced roadmaps for premium. You want to do it without any help. So you can always create a board. Let us go to board, and what we'll do, it won't be of course a roadmap or a timeline, but you can actually do quite a lot. So you can actually create a Scrum board, maybe a Scrum board, I don't know. Let us create a Kanban board again. That should be fine. So I'll probably select here the filter. ANDT60 is the name of my filter, ANDT60, and I will I will search for the filter name, and I want to maybe display it in my ANDT to Android project. And what you can do now, you can actually see, I mean, by default you are able to see these so you are of course able to see the task, right? You can move it to this status, whatever status, and there is some problem anyways, and you have these subtasks. So you are actually in a way able to see these subtasks like in a Kanban board. And there is some it's a weird issue, to be honest. I've never seen this, a transition screen without any field. Anyways, so basically what we are doing here is we have this list of all the issues, and of course you may have of course epics later on, and you can see that epic as well. But anyways, we are basically trying to see the epic along with all the stories under it, and also the subtasks that we may have. And it is actually quite good. What you can also do is if you go back to your board settings, you can take a look at what board settings you have, and configure a few things if you think you need to just modify it further. Take a look at the columns, and of course map those statuses that you need. Of course use swim lanes, and your swim lanes can be based on of course any other based on any other criteria. But the basic idea here is that you are able to basically see everything in one view. That is actually very important. Oh, it worked. So now you can see here that for one of my subtasks was actually okay. Now I think we are back to normal. So it says here, of course it's not like super useful but view, but that the subtask is basically under Android's ANDT62, which is of course a story in itself, but it is like a view, like a consolidated Kanban board. And that is it. That is all I wanted to talk about and show you in this video. I hope you enjoyed watching this video and you learned something new. Thank you very much. Sorry, the volume was too much. Okay, so let us do it again. So I hope you enjoyed watching this video and you learned something new. Thank you very much. Bye bye.